But isn't it interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
That's correct. I think that's not actually, like, you're right, the name raises questions, and certainly there's been some much covered internal politics on that show, but I do think that, you know, there is space. Even that show does have space. When Whoopi said what she said, there was quick pushback from other panelists. They were like, oh, I don't know. Actually, I think that might not be right. That's it.
Sunny Hostin has been making some pretty controversial progressive takes that have finally landed on Bill Maher's radar. The blunt comedian made clear he has zero patience for self-righteous posturing or performative outrage on daytime TV. Across multiple episodes of Real Time with Bill Maher, Maher took direct shots at Hostin and the View panelists for their rhetoric, which clearly rattled them. As always, hit the subscribe button and let's dive into this.
But it struck me that in the first segment, you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected. Yeah. So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
and
migrate.
So why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want, because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that.
Sunny Hostin clearly thought she had Bill Maher cornered, pressing him on why he seemed to be echoing the right by criticizing the term woke. After all, Maher had long identified with the left. In her mind, this was a gotcha moment, a clean setup. But Maher didn't flinch. Instead, he flipped the script. He calmly explained that while woke may have started as a meaningful rallying cry within the Black community, it hasn't stayed there. According to him, it's been stretched, twisted, and repackaged into a vehicle for increasingly absurd ideas and overreaching policies that push everyday people away. You could almost feel the shift in the room. Hostin looked caught off guard. That wasn't the response she had lined up for. And just when it seemed like the moment might pass, Maher leaned in further, setting up a follow-up point that landed even harder than the first, leaving the panel visibly rattled.
But don't tell me the left...
Maybe the super far right.
Well, he's talking about the left. Well, then
okay, but we talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right, and I can't say it enough. I think they're the bigger threat. But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a joke.
Too dark, too dark.
Well, maybe it is, but it's true. I mean, you know, if I had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left, watching people protest for a terrorist organization like Hamas, that straightened me up pretty quick.
Bill Maher then pivots, laying out how dramatically the left has changed over the past decade. No longer the same coalition it once was, but something sharper, more rigid, and, in his view, increasingly out of touch. All the while, Sunny Hostin keeps prodding him, clearly hoping he'll redirect that criticism toward the right. But Maher doesn't bite. He's not interested in the easy applause line. Instead, he zeroes in on what he sees as a deep ideological shift within his own side. And that's where the tension spikes. You can sense the discomfort creeping in because this isn't the script Hostin expected. The critique is landing a little too close to home. After all, she's often been one of the most vocal champions of those very progressive ideals, something viewers have seen time and again in countless viral clips. And now, with Maher calling it out in real time, the conversation shifts from confident sparring to something far more uneasy and revealing.
Someone must tell the usual suspects on the far left that the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging, not keep digging. Talk about doubling down on what got you in the first place. Even the one concession I've heard a few people on the losing side offer, that liberals should stop saying the Trump voters are stupid, comes with a kind of unspoken parentheses. We know they are stupid, just don't say it.
And that's where things get especially interesting. Right from the opening moments of the clip, Bill Maher subtly frames Sunny Hostin and the View panel as drifting into far-left territory. Essentially another way of saying woke, though he never needs to spell it out. The implication is clear and it lands. This comes on the heels of repeated moments where hosts on The View criticized voters who supported Donald Trump, at times dismissing them as uninformed or outright foolish. But Maher pushes back against that narrative hard. He makes it clear he doesn't see those voters as stupid at all. In his view, many simply rejected what they perceived as overreach, policies, and cultural messaging they felt didn't reflect their values. That's the line Maher draws, and it's a sharp one. Suddenly, the conversation shifts from casual criticism to a deeper, more uncomfortable reckoning about why people actually vote the way they do.
I got bad news for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke.
Bill Maher then shifts gears and starts zeroing in on specific views that Sunny Hostin has pushed on The View. And this is where things get even more heated. One of the flashpoints he highlights is the show's strong stance on continued mask wearing during COVID-19. Even as public debate intensified over how effective those measures were in different settings, Hostin alongside Whoopi Goldberg had been vocal in encouraging strict adherence, framing it as a matter of responsibility and public safety. At one point, Goldberg even directly pushed back on Maher for criticizing prolonged mask use, turning the exchange into a tense on-air clash. Maher seizes on that moment to argue that parts of the media were too quick to shut down dissenting opinions. What follows isn't just disagreement. It's a full-on collision of perspectives with neither side willing to back down.
Whoopi Goldberg, because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before. Sure. So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But they're thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide. But can I just say this? I had on last week Ira Glasser, former longtime head of the ACLU, talking about free speech. Whoopi Goldberg, who, by the way, I hope is still a friend. We can disagree with each other. Should not be canceled or put off her show, as much as I totally disagree with her crazy statement.
Here, Bill Maher openly admits that Whoopi Goldberg has taken plenty of shots at him over the years, often tossing out what he considers wildly off-base claims, including her criticism of his stance on mask wearing. But Maher doesn't stop there. He points out that Goldberg herself has crossed lines before, most notably during the controversy that led to her suspension from The View after backlash over her remarks about the Holocaust. Despite their clashes, Maher actually defended her at the time, arguing that suspending her was excessive and ran counter to the principles of free speech. That's the twist. Even when he disagrees, he resists the urge to silence. And it raises an uncomfortable question. If the roles were reversed, would figures like Goldberg or Sunny Hostin show the same restraint, or would they celebrate his cancellation without hesitation?
But isn't it interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America. There is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
That's correct. I think that's not actually, you're right, the name raises questions, and certainly there's been some much covered internal politics on that show, but I do think that, you know, there is space. Even that show does have space. When Whoopi said what she said, there was quick pushback from other panelists. They were like, oh, I don't know. Actually, I think that might not be right. That's it.
I doubt this woman actually watches The View, because if she did, she'd notice a clear pattern that's hard to ignore. The panel often presents itself as a space for diverse perspectives, but in practice, most of the hosts tend to circle around the same core viewpoint. The only real outlier in recent times has been Alyssa Farah Griffin, who occasionally pushes back and offers a different angle. Even then, her presence can feel more symbolic than substantive. The rest of the panel may differ in tone or delivery, but their arguments usually reinforce the same underlying narrative, creating more of a one-sided discussion than a genuine debate. That's why Griffin's role sometimes comes across as tokenistic, similar to how Scott Jennings is often positioned on CNN. He's there to represent the other side, but rarely shifts the overall direction of the conversation. In the end, it raises real questions about how much true balance these platforms actually offer viewers.
It wasn't 21st century that prevented a woman from being president. It was the Electoral College. Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office, but they do. They live here. And they actually see women and people of color. And it doesn't look like some patriarchal racist nightmare. Do problems remain pertaining to racism? Of course. But a poll last year asked, if America is the greatest country in the world, more blacks and Hispanic Americans agreed with that than the white progressives. It asked if racism is built into our society. White progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic people. It asked if government should increase border security. Same result. Hispanic Americans are less okay with illegal immigration than whitey.
Despite all the polling data Bill Maher laid out, the hosts on The View still come across as firmly committed to identity-first thinking. The impression they give is that nearly every issue in America should be filtered through race, color, and group identity before anything else is considered. In that framework, outcomes are often emphasized over process, and disparities are treated as proof of systemic failure rather than something to examine from multiple angles. From Maher's perspective, that approach risks oversimplifying complex problems and reducing individuals to categories instead of treating them as people. It also fuels the perception that certain groups should receive preference in opportunities, including jobs, even when questions about qualifications or merit arise. That's where the debate becomes especially heated. Critics argue this line of thinking creates new divisions while trying to fix old ones, while supporters insist it's necessary to address historical inequities. Either way, it's a clash of philosophies that neither side seems willing to back down from anytime soon.
The votes are in. They don't want your pity. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them. Black people, they're just like us.
And that's really the heart of the debate. For critics like Bill Maher, the answer isn't framing policy around appeasing specific groups, but building systems that lift everyone regardless of race or background. The argument is simple. When institutions are strong and opportunities are broadly accessible, people benefit across the board. What most Americans consistently want isn't division, but stability, reliable jobs, a sound economy, public safety, functional welfare systems, and the freedom to pursue their lives without unnecessary barriers. These are the foundations that tend to improve living standards universally. Because when the economy falters or insecurity rises, the impact doesn't stay confined to one community. It spreads. Families lose income, businesses struggle, and uncertainty affects daily life for everyone. That's why the focus, according to this line of thinking, should be on policies that create widespread prosperity rather than narrowly targeted solutions that risk deepening divisions instead of solving underlying problems.
Kamala spent 100 days telling voters, I know it feels like crime and illegal immigration are bad, but killings, look at this chart. Yes, there's a lot to not like already about the new regime, but maybe take 1 week to ask what you did wrong. The basis for Democratic campaigns has become, we're the smart people. That we know from the get-go. No need to look into that. We know that a priori, which is a Latin phrase the red hat people wouldn't have a clue about. But they don't need to. Have you seen my "In this house we believe" lawn sign? See, it says right on it, we believe in science. Right, which is why you demanded no one even debate whether COVID could have escaped from the one lab in the one city where they were studying it. How far-fetched!
Bill Maher's critiques of Sunny Hostin and The View reveal a deeper fracture within the American left, one that goes beyond television drama. At its core, this is a clash between two visions of progressive politics, one that prioritizes identity-conscious frameworks and cultural messaging, and another that argues for broad, universally accessible solutions. Maher's willingness to challenge his own ideological camp rather than simply scoring points against the right is precisely what makes him a disruptive voice. Whether one agrees with him or not, the discomfort he generates on panels like The View exposes a real tension between preaching to a convinced audience and actually persuading the unconvinced. The question these exchanges ultimately raise isn't who won the argument, but whether platforms committed to progressive ideals are genuinely open to scrutiny. Without that openness, they risk becoming the very echo chambers they claim to stand against. And on this note, we draw the curtains on today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.